So viewers, the Washington DC edition of the Pursuit of Peace began on a positive note following the dialogue between Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin in Alaska. This marked a significant shift in tone compared to their tense meeting in February. Trump not only welcomed Volodymyr Zelenskyy, but also expressed that it was an honor to have Zelenskyy at the White House, a complete change from what we saw just a few months ago. In fact, Trump stated that there is a reasonable chance of ending the war and promised to provide security guarantees as part of a peace agreement to resolve the conflict. He claimed that the world is tired of the war and that both Putin and Zelenskyy want to see it come to an end. In fact, before stating that he had previously ended 6 wars, Trump emphasized that this time he seeks a lasting peace rather than just a ceasefire. Listen in.
President Zelenskyy, you say in the Post-Timex today, Russia must end this war, which it itself started. President Trump, you say President Zelenskyy of Ukraine can end the war with Russia almost immediately if he wants to. Which is it?
No, I think that's true. I think we're going to have a meeting. I think if everything works out well today, we'll have a trilat. And I think there will be a reasonable chance of ending the war when we do that.
And is this the end of the road for American support for Ukraine? Is today's meeting deal or no deal?
I can never say that. It's never the end of the road. People are being killed, and we want to stop that. So I would not say it's the end of the road. No, I think we have a good chance of doing it. And I know the president, I know myself, and I believe Vladimir Putin wants to see it ended.
Talk about security guarantees. Could that involve U.S. troops? Would you roll that out in the future?
We'll let you know that maybe later today. We're meeting with 7 great leaders of great countries also, and we'll be talking about that. They'll all be involved, but there'll be a lot of help when it comes to security. There's going to be a lot of help. It's going to be good. They are first line of defense because they're there. They're Europe, but we're going to help them out also. We'll be involved.
In fact, in a dramatic diplomatic push, the U.S. President Donald Trump also said that he hosted Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy, the French President, the UK Prime Minister. He, in fact, went on to name all the top European leaders at the White House. And he also mentioned the NATO chief, Mark Rutte, as well as the EU Commission President joining the talks. In fact, the U.S. President has also taken to social media. In his inimical style, he has again put out a message on what really went on in this meeting. In his social media post on Truth Social, he goes on to say, I had a very good meeting with distinguished guests, President Volodymyr Zelenskyy of Ukraine, President Emmanuel Macron of France, President Alexander Stubb of Finland. He goes on to name every leader from the European Union who was present at the White House for this meeting, and then going on to say it ended in a further meeting in the Oval Office. During the meeting, we discussed security guarantees for Ukraine, which guarantees would be provided by the various European countries with a coordination with the United States. So indicating that there has been a positive step towards peace. He then goes on to say, everyone is happy about the possibility of peace for Russia and Ukraine. At the conclusion of the meetings, I called President Putin. Now, this is very, very significant. Are we going to see a trilateral meeting with Trump, Putin and Zelenskyy in attendance? Now, Donald Trump goes on to say that I called Zelenskyy and he said that everyone is happy about the possibility. At the conclusion, I called Putin and began arrangements for a meeting at a location to be determined between President Putin and Zelenskyy. After the meeting takes place, we will again have a trilateral that would have the 2 presidents in the meeting. So he's going on to say that there will be a meeting that will take place between the leaders, going on to say Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Special Envoy Steve Witkoff are coordinating with Russia and Ukraine. So indicating that there has been real progress. Let's go across to Senior Consulting Editor Srinjoy Chaudhary joining us on the broadcast with the details. Joining us on the broadcast is also Suresh Kumar Goel, former diplomat, as well as Matt Klink, Republican strategist on the broadcast with us. Thank you so much and a very good morning to you. I'll begin with Matt Klink. What did you think of this meeting? There was a lot riding on this meeting. After the meeting with Putin, it seemed like there wasn't much progress. How is the United States looking at this meeting with Zelenskyy and the European Union leaders?
Well, just to be clear, the Trump haters were they didn't think that there was much progress after the meeting with Putin. But today was big on two different levels. One, on the symbolism aspect of it. What you saw first with Donald Trump's greeting of Zelensky, it was warm, solidarity, friendliness, and then you saw that continue on with the other European leaders there. I think, though, the more valid point and the more important point was on the substance. And I think that you heard the United States, I think for the first time, change its position a little bit, where they said that we would provide some type of a security guarantee. I still think it's going to necessitate that Europe steps up and plays a much larger role here. But I do think that you saw the United States' willingness to stay involved, to make sure that the peace is lasting. And it also showed the United States being in sync with the European leadership. There's no distance between them. So I think that when Donald Trump does talk to Vladimir Putin to hopefully set up a trilateral meeting, or as he says, the trilat, I think that what you will hopefully see then is America bringing together these two different nations that have been fighting each other. And I think it was one of the prime ministers, whether it was Keir Starmer or perhaps the German Prime Minister Merz, they said that there has been more progress in the last 2 weeks than there has been in the last 3 years. So that's a big deal. Today was a good day if you're hoping for peace in Ukraine.
All right. So it's a very positive meeting. It's being looked at as a very positive meeting. But Sindhu, is there a date that has been specified, location, any real progress that has been done, or can we expect that in the coming few days?
Yes, that will be known very soon. But the two most important words that came out of this entire several hours of discussion was security guarantee. But what is not clear right now, and perhaps that will be evident in the future, is what kind of security guarantee will America come up with. You can see that the Europeans, the British, the French, the Germans, the Finns, all of them are very keen that Ukraine gets some level of security guarantee. And the fact that all of them were there were of great help to President Zelensky. Of course, there were no references to why he wasn't wearing a suit and all that. You already mentioned that this meeting was completely different from the earlier one. But what kind of security guarantees will be available from America is actually very important. So if there is some level of security guarantee that is acceptable to the Ukrainians, then it will be all right. Now, NATO membership is not something that is on the table, is what we are hearing. But what happens to the Crimea, what happens to Donetsk, what happens to Luhansk, is this a Korea situation, or is this going to be very different? We don't know these things. Number one, what the security guarantees will be, what happens to the land, various issues, and also Europe considers Putin to be a war criminal. Will that continue? Will that quote-unquote status also continue? These are issues that will have to be clarified. So when the trilateral takes place, perhaps we'll get more clarity about it.
Okay, so the final details are still being worked at. Do stay with us, Ambassador. I'll come back to you in just a moment. I want to bring in what the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy has said. He was flanked, of course, by the European leaders this time around, completely different from what we saw in the February meeting. This time he had a huge lineup of the European leaders who were with him. He said that he is open to a meeting with Trump and Putin together to bring the war to an end. He, in fact, in his message also asserted that Ukraine needs the United States and Europe's aid to end the war. So this is what he went on to say after the meeting.
We live under each day attacks. You know that today have been a lot of attacks and a lot of wounded people, and the child was dead. So we need to stop this war, to stop Russia, and we need support American and European partners. And I think we show that we are strong people, and we supported the idea of the United States, of personally of President Trump, to stop this war to make a diplomatic way of finishing this war, and we are ready for trilateral, as President said.